Tomorrow night, check me out if you can. Bobcat Goldthwait will be here, the music of the College Boys, and I got this satellite hookup at Whitney Houston's house in Jersey. So we're going to go there and go through her closet and her refrigerator. Anyway, Whitney Houston via satellite. You all know my next guest as an award-winning investigative journalist. He currently hosts his own talk show as well as the syndicated series, Now It Can Be Told. Please welcome Geraldo Rivera. Yes. First of all, congratulations. If I read correctly, there's a baby on the way.
Yes. Yes. If it's the first time on national TV, you're scooping my own show.
Well, thank you very much.
After 4 years of trying, my wife is 3 months pregnant, Cece, and we're very happy. It's been a long road. I mean, not all that work is hard work, but I'm glad it's happening for her. She's a great woman, and I'm so glad that we get a baby.
On one of your shows, Now It Can Be Told, you have gone into the hood and prepared a segment on the crisis. Tell us about it.
Well, I did this morning. I got here on Friday. I wasn't intending originally when the trip was planned to obviously to do any reporting out here, but I was watching TV along with the rest of the Western world on Wednesday night. I saw it was happening and accelerated the plans, got here as soon as I could, and worked all day Friday night, and over the weekend putting together today's installment of Now It Can Be Told. And we didn't just do Los Angeles because the crisis, the tension and the violence was spreading, or at least threatened to spread throughout the country. So we tried to do a tale of 3 cities, really. We did New York, where we featured the Reverend Al Sharpton. A lot of New Yorkers feel that if the bomb was going to explode, he'd be the fuse. We did Philadelphia, and Chief Willie Williams, who's obviously the guy designated to succeed Daryl Gates, who has a lot of questions, in my opinion, to answer, and a lot of responsibility to talk to people about, these riots and the terrible violence here, and obviously L.A. So that was the tale of our 3 cities, 3 key figures. I spent a lot of time, as you did, with Edward James Olmos, who, when the history of the L.A. riots are written, will be, in my opinion, designated the person who did most to heal the wound, who did most to quell the violence, who did most to...
And he used the media well to change the perception from something negative to something positive.
Well, there is a positive
aspect. Use the media.
Yeah. No, I think that, using the media to communicate to people that that this was a very complicated situation out there, and also by example, leading by example, rather than I can't stand stars coming on and doing PSAs and saying, I want you to go and do, I want you to give, I want you to see. Eddie didn't do that. He said, I'm getting a broom and I'm going to be out there. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say you go, mm-hmm. you do, but you saw him, and you had to be motivated by that. So I'm very proud of what he did.
Yeah, he's a special guy. Special guy. Let's continue talking about the media a little bit. There are some people that criticize the media for putting a slant on the story, for possibly creating more of a problem in what they showed.
You applaud that. I want to know this. I want to know, Daryl Gates was at a fundraising dinner Wednesday night. Didn't they have a damn television set at that dinner? Didn't he know what was going on in this town? How come he didn't know and everybody else in this city knew and this country knew? How come he didn't know? You think how come the fine mayor of Los Angeles, didn't he have a television set inside that church? Why the hell are those people staying indoors when all hell was breaking loose? Television was telling the world exactly what the reality. And to blame the messenger for the bad news is the kind of reactionary sentiment that I encounter a lot in my life.
Okay, so let's talk about Daryl Gates. There are people who are also saying that this was a plan, that no one was there by design when this thing began.
Well, I have done a lot of reporting with the LAPD. There's many fine officers, but I've seen the equipment they have. They have these armored personnel carriers, for instance. I remember Daryl Gates holding many news conferences with this APC with a long snout on it, armored snout. I've seen the SWAT team in this town, and they're good, and they're formidable. I want to know where those people were when that guy was being dragged out of that truck and getting his head bashed in. Everyone knows. No, I'm a lawyer. Okay. We have a rule in criminal law. When the jury goes out, and they stay out for a while, if they come back in a few hours or a day or so, generally speaking, it's bad news for the defendants. They're going down. If they deadlock, though, and if they are obviously negotiating and struggling, generally speaking, they are trying to find a way to acquit. It's a rule of thumb that really holds up. By the third or fourth day, by God, everybody was beginning to suspect that these guys were going to get lenient treatment. Not the acquittal. I don't think anybody figured they'd skate totally. But everybody knew that it was going to go easy. Am I the only one who's saying this? I mean, didn't they have experts? Didn't they know? Couldn't they know? To me, at some point, negligence becomes intentional violation. At some point, failure to act is as bad as acting in the wrong way. In my opinion, the city of Los Angeles was beaten just like Rodney King was beaten. And it was by official non-feasors. That's what they did. I'm so furious about it. I have a 12-and-a-half-year-old son, and he could have told you that there was going to be trouble if those four defendants walked. That's not in any way to alleviate or mitigate the responsibility of the people who went out there and in a racist fashion conducted a brutal riot that victimized Koreans and victimized other shopkeepers and victimized their own neighbors. There was a cyclone of rage out there. It was a rage and hate and greed, and it was awful. And it was awful. And I think that the people who beat that white truck driver should be prosecuted on civil rights violations just like the cops who beat Rodney King.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
But to me, these things, and you know, and I love you for being out there, and really, you didn't have to put your ass on the line, and you did, and I think that you deserve our honor for that. These things aren't very technical. These things, you don't need any specialized knowledge. All you need is common sense. Common sense tells you if there are 15 helicopters showing a guy being beaten to death, then those 15 helicopters have to be in communication with somebody with the ability to stop the mob. They have to, please.
Commercial, come right back. We'll be back. Throughout this thing, we've seen innocent Asian citizens, innocent black businessmen, innocent white citizens violated. Okay, that's the negative. It's behind us. What do we do now to move forth and find something positive in this negative?
Well, first of all, you have national leaders who for at least a decade and a half have been preaching that greed is good and that poor people will ultimately be taken care of with benign neglect and something called the trickle-down theory. In the meantime, they have brought to center stage issues like gagging doctors at abortion clinics, public aid to parochial schools, just phony issues, middle-class tax cut, everybody get $400 back. Now, what the hell do those things have to do with the state of America? To me, what happened, this tragedy that happened, it's not surprising that it happened. The miracle is that it hasn't happened before. And without profound change, it's going to happen again. Because the string that connects the people of the inner city to the system is a tiny, fragile string right now. So many have given up on the so-called American dream. The King verdict snapped the string for now. Let's say that everyone, because of the enormous police force and because of everyone's good efforts, we managed to reattach the people to the system. Here's now another fragile string. All it takes is the next catalyst, and the next catalyst, and the next catalyst. America's dirty little secret has been the race problem in this country. Everyone's been afraid to talk about it. Everyone says Jesse Jackson is a radical guy, and that his candidacy was he could never win, and why was he in the race? The thing about Jesse Jackson's candidacy back in '88 was that at least people were talking about real issues. At least he forced the candidates, the mainstream candidates, to talk about race, to talk about the difference between poor people and white people, to talk about the two separate Americas. With him out of the race, and you've got three men presumably with clear consciences: Bush, Clinton, Perot. Why aren't they not talking about what is obvious to everybody, that every day that goes by, the inner city gets poorer? Every day that goes by, they are being crushed by governmental neglect, by malignant despair, by increasing poverty, by an increasing gulf with the poor and the rich. Unless people really talk about using our national resources to bring us closer together, to give opportunity, to give hopefulness. What's to stop the string from snapping again? What's to stop the mob from going wild again? There's nothing. There's really nothing to stop them. So, you know why they're not talking about those issues?
Why?
Because, and he said it, Reverend Jackson said it, because usually the violence and the chaos is confined to the inner city, and usually it doesn't make the evening news. Now it's spilled over. Now it's affected the lives of the people who matter, the people who vote. Now they're paying attention. But unless those of us in public life and the citizens generally keep reminding them that these are the issues we care about. This is what we care about. We don't care about a $400 a year middle class tax cut, for God's sakes. Get those phony, I almost...
People.
Yeah. Anyway.
We all have one thing in common. I think we're concerned about the future and concerned about our youth. As a matter of fact, the proceeds for exposing myself...
Ooh.
Bette Miller told me to do that. The proceeds for that book went to putting kids through college.
Every penny went to the class I adopted from East Harlem to put them through college. I didn't make a penny on the book. Made a couple $100,000, and they're all in 11th grade now. I adopted them when they were in the 8th grade. I had 29. Now there are 22 left. Every penny will be used to pay for their college education. Still, I shouldn't have written the book. I could have raised the money in a lot easier way.
Well, we'll get to that. But what do we do to teach our youth, educate our youth, but instill a certain degree of self-esteem? I think if there was self-esteem, some things I saw in the news wouldn't happen.
Well, I think that I've stopped being involved in big causes. I used to be involved in big causes. I used to be, like the Elizabeth Taylor, but my cause was mental retardation. I used to speak to lots and billions of people and organizations, and you saw it happen to the United Way. I don't think the corporate approach is the way to fix the world anymore. I got these 29 kids. I said, that's my universe now. Now I'm going to pay my attention to these children and see if I can make a difference let me save this little slice of the world. Maybe you can do 25, maybe you can do 50, maybe you can do 2, maybe you can do 1. But if everybody with means was to say, okay, I'm going to do what I can to not change the world, change the life of Jose or Maria or Abdul, then you'll have some net movement to the positive. Then if all of us with some extra, and everybody's got some extra, maybe it's not money, maybe you got extra time, maybe you just have extra compassion, maybe you do have some extra dollars, maybe you have some influence. Everybody's got extra something that they don't necessarily need. I think that everybody's first responsibility is to themselves and their family, but everybody's got some extra. If we take that extra and we apply it to just affecting the number that we can reasonably affect for the positive, I bet you that if this, God forbid, happened in New York, none of my kids would have been out there. Not a one of them would have been out there, because they have hope in their lives, they have self-esteem, they have self-respect, they have self-regard, they're going someplace. It's only the people who don't see tomorrow. It's only the people who don't know where they're going. Those are the people who strike out at random. Those are the people who can scapegoat a Korean merchant. Those are the people who can pick up a firebomb to get the store that maybe they didn't have the $50 to buy the Nike shoes or the sunglasses. Yeah. It's only the people without tomorrow that can do violence to today.
Wow. We're running short, aren't we? Gosh, I gotta, first of all, we gotta plug this project.
Which one?
The thing where you actually kind of play a guy like yourself.
Oh, that gets killed?
Yes.
I get killed tomorrow night on TV. It's wonderful.
Geraldo Rivera.
Inspired.
And you brought those people with
Yeah,
you.
you clap. Thank you. That's the transsexuals who loot. I know that. I saw you on TV, creeps.
Okay.
It's on Perry Mason movie, NBC.
Yeah, NBC, 8 o'clock Tuesday. That's tomorrow night. They should watch that. 8 o'clock, NBC.
It's my acting debut.
Yes.
I'm bad.
I'm
But
sorry.
not bad in the cool way. I'm bad in the bad way.
I'm sorry, we've run out of time.
Oh, we talked
but
about the
I got
important
that
things.
plug.
That was the important stuff.
And you know what? I was surprised. You said you shouldn't have wrote Exposing Myself.
Well, you know, it was an honest book. Every word is precisely true, just as I wrote it, but it was insensitive. You know, truth is an absolute defense to libel, but it's not an absolute defense to bad taste. And it was bad taste. I allowed myself to be criticized as a locker room braggart, and I'm not that kind of person. Mm-hmm. In retrospect, I should have waited till I was 60 or 70 years old. Then they would have said, "Hey, stud, way to go." But now to do it at this age, you know, it was unnecessary. I should not have written the book because I could not have written an autobiography that was coy or evasive or dishonest, because I demand honesty of my guests when I'm talking. I had to give people at least that much. But if people were negatively affected or people adversely affected, people embarrassed by my disclosures, then I apologize for it. That was never my intention in writing this book.
So that's why I get killed in the movie. That's all right. Okay, so
My
you can
symbolic apology.
you can see him killed tomorrow on NBC, 8 o'clock. Geraldo Rivera.
When I go, I'm naked.
Oh, great! Killed naked, Geraldo Rivera. Yes.